Peabody Public Library. It's February 16th, 2006. We are interviewing Jack Schrader, and I am Janet Skank, the director of the Peabody Public Library. Mr. Schrader, what branch of the service did you serve in?
The United States Marine Corps.
And what war did you participate in?
The Korean War.
And your rank when you left the service?
Staff Sergeant.
And where you actually served?
In Korea, among all the boot camps and things in the States.
Okay. According to what you told me, you enlisted in 1951?
Yes.
Did you volunteer or were you drafted?
I volunteered.
Volunteered. Was there a draft going on at that time?
I think there was, yeah.
Okay. Why did you volunteer and not wait for the draft?
I really think the reason was a friend of mine and I knew we were going to get drafted before long, so we enlisted in something that we wanted to enlist in. So we enlisted in the Marine Corps together.
So you got to choose where you went,
yes.
What service you went to if you actually enlisted. Okay. You said you were born here in Whitley County?
Yes.
Lumbee City? And is that where you were living when you enlisted?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know anything about Korea at that time?
No, nothing whatsoever.
I don't think the war had started in 1951, had it?
Yeah, it was going on, I think, just before that.
Oh, just before you enlisted?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Were you married at that time?
No.
No? No. Other family here, though, in the area?
Other
family, mother, father, brothers, sisters?
So I got brothers and sisters here.
Brothers and sisters.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But when you enlisted, were your parents alive?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What did they think about you joining up?
Oh, I don't know that they ever said very much. You know how mothers are. They don't want you to, but they supported me.
Were a lot of people joining then from this area?
I think there was. It seemed like it anyway.
Okay. Once you actually went and joined, where did you actually go to enlist?
Well, beside Fort Wayne, then we were sent to Indianapolis for the swearing-in ceremonies.
Okay.
And then from there we went to Washington, D.C. And then from Washington, D.C. we went to Parris Island, South Carolina. And we picked up a bunch on the way as we went. So when we got to Parris Island, there was 192 of us.
Is that where you did boot camp in
Yes.
Parris Island?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? What was that like, boot camp?
Well, when I first got in there, I wondered why I did it. But as things went along the way, they smoothed out, and it wasn't really bad.
What kind of training did you get there?
Just basic.
Basic, and what does that mean?
It's physical conditioning mostly. And in it was 10 weeks of it, and in the last 10 weeks, or the last part of the 2 weeks, was rifle range, learning to use an M1 rifle.
And what rank were you when you were doing that?
Well, we hadn't even made PFC yet. We were privates.
Okay.
I think when we got out of that boot camp, we got 1 stripe as a private.
Okay.
And
Did they decide in boot camp what you're going to do after that? Or how does that work?
well, you get a whole bunch of tests while you're in there.
Okay.
And you can ask for something, but when they evaluate your test, I was a mechanic when I went in, and so I got put in the mechanics division.
Oh, I see.
And sent to the West Coast, where I went through a tank school. And I was in that tank school for, oh golly, I spent 4 weeks, something like that.
And to teach you how to drive a tank or fix
Well,
a tank?
we had learned how to drive it, of course, but it was maintenance.
Maintenance on the tank.
To fix them.
I see.
'Cause I was a mechanic.
Did you get to come home at all in between boot camp and they sent you right over to the West Coast?
Yeah, from boot camp I had a 10-day leave, and then went back, and then went to the West Coast from Parris Island.
With the West Coast, that you were in school still on the West Coast, right?
Yes.
When you first went there. How long did that last?
Well, that lasted about, I expect, 3 to 4 weeks, and then from that we went to advanced infantry training. Out of tank school, I made a corporal, another stripe, and then we went into this advanced military training, which was at Camp Pendleton, California. It was north of where we went through tank school. And then from there, it was starting to get in the fall of the year, so we went to cold weather training because we knew we were going to Korea in Northern California, and I think Lake Tahoe, somewhere up there, and had a couple of weeks in cold weather training.
Did you have free time when you were doing any of this, or was it?
Yeah, usually every weekend was free.
Every weekend was
yeah.
free? What kind of things did you do on the weekends then?
Well, I had a brother in L.A.,
Oh.
so I spent most of the time up there at his place.
And he was he in the service?
No, he lived there. He's 10 years older than I was, so.
What did the people think about the Korean War when you were out in California, or even here in Indiana?
Well, I never really heard much about it. You know, it was just a war, and I can't, you know, it's been 50-some years ago, and I don't think there was any animosity over it.
You were alive during World War II. Could you just see the difference in the people from World War II to the
Well,
Korean War?
I was just, I think, in grade school when that'd been 1945. I might have been in, grade school, 7th or 8th grade, something like that. And was glad to hear when it ended. And I don't know, I guess as a young kid you didn't keep that much news like you do today, you know.
I forgot to ask you, are you married now?
Yes.
Or were you married now? Okay. When did you meet your wife?
Well, we were high school sweethearts.
Oh, I see.
We went to school together.
How did you keep in touch with her while you were gone?
Telephone and mostly letters. She came out to see me. My mother and father and brother brought her out to see me just before I went overseas. This was in probably the first part of December. And she spent a week out there.
51 or 52?
51.
51,
yeah.
Okay.
And then all I got off was just weekends, you know, so they didn't stay very long. But my brother, everybody stayed at my brother's in L.A. And we left, when I left to go back on Sunday night, they took me back because a car I had to stay in with my brother. I couldn't take it any farther. My brother loaned me a car when I was out there. And so it was sometime in December that we boarded ship in San Diego and went to Korea. I can remember we were on the ship when we crossed the international date line sometime in December.
Don't they have traditions for?
Oh yeah, initiation. But they usually pick out a bunch of officers because there was 5,000 of us
on the ship.
On the ship going over, you know. So they pick out a few officers to.
What do they do to them?
Oh, they just make them run through garbage and just funny things like that, you know. And then when you get done, you get a certificate that you crossed the international date line.
You went directly to Korea?
Yes. Well, no, we went directly to Japan.
Japan.
And then we got off at Yokohama, and we boarded a train and went across Japan to a place called Sasebo. Then we boarded a little Japanese, I call it a jump boat, went right over to Korea.
Okay.
And was met over there. It ended up that there was only about 25 or 30 of us because it was all tank people. And we were headed for a tank, the 8th Tank Battalion in Korea. And that's where I spent about 14 months in Korea, the 8th Tank Battalion.
Was it a base that you went to, or?
Well, originally, yeah, but then it moved wherever it needed to move. See, what we did was, when a tank would get knocked out in combat, we'd go get it and bring it back and fix it. We'd have to drag it behind a hill or somewhere in safety, you know, and then and repair it.
Did you ever see combat? I mean, were you fired on?
Just from a distance,
Just from a distance?
Yeah, because we weren't on the front lines very often, or basically our job was to, if a tank was knocked out, to go out and get the tank and the people that was in it and bring it back to be repaired.
Did you have problems like getting supplies or?
No,
No,
we we carried most everything with us. We had 30-some tanks, 5 retrievers, and a couple of dozer tanks, and trucks with big trailers with equipment, you know, extra repair parts.
Were you a staff sergeant by this point?
No, I made buck sergeant when I went overseas, and then I made staff sergeant while I was over there.
While you were over there?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have any free time in Korea?
Yeah, not much.
Not much?
Yeah, there wasn't really much to do.
Okay. So if you did have free time, you didn't have any place to go?
Well, there were several USO shows
Oh,
near
were
the
there?
area. I don't remember who they were. They weren't anybody big.
Bob Hope didn't show up?
No,
did he? No.
no.
Well, that's interesting. How'd you keep in touch with your family while you were in Korea?
Letters.
Letters?
Yeah.
A lot of letter writing?
Yeah.
Okay. How about the people that you served with? Do you remember some of them?
Oh, yeah, but I haven't seen, only one that I know or today is the one I enlisted with. But when we got sent to Korea, we were separated, and I never saw him until we got home.
Oh.
Because he went in transportation and I went in tanks.
So you haven't kept in touch with any
others? No.
Any of the others? No.
When I came home and got married, 3 guys came that I was in with down at Camp Lejeune to my wedding. One of them was in the wedding, or 2 of them was, I guess, and the other was guest. I got married while I was still in June.
In June?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you tell, or do you have any kind of stories about some things that would have happened in Korea? Either you think they could be humorous or some very poignant type of things?
No, I can't think of anything now. It's been, like I said, too long.
It's been a long time, yeah.
This should have happened when I came back.
You're not
right
the
away.
first. You're not the first veteran to say that either. Where were you when they declared a ceasefire? Because I understand the Korean War isn't.
Well, the peace talks were going on just before we left. I think that's
left Korea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we went back to Incheon or Ascom City, wherever they had, and they were having the peace talks, and it looked pretty favorable. That's why they were rotating the troops.
Rotating the troops. Okay. Did you ever get? We talked a little bit about your free time for R&R. Did you ever get to go into the other areas when you went on R&R?
No, I didn't. I didn't go for that stuff. You know, there was some areas that you could have gone to, but I didn't go to anything.
Once you came back to the United States, you weren't out of the service yet. You still had time to serve. Where did you go?
I had to go from somewhere in March or April. Went back to Camp Lejeune and trained other Marines in tank mechanics and the use of tanks. By the time we got back, the tank had changed from the M47 to the M48.
Was there a big difference in those?
Yes, there was. Yeah.
What was the difference?
They're just bigger and better.
Bigger and better.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're married by this time? No.
June the 13th of
June the 13th.
1953.
Okay, and then you were in
I had to go to February of 54. for
February of
discharge.
54. So your wife was with you in Camp Lejeune for a small amount?
Yeah, until we got sent on summer maneuvers down around Puerto Rico, the island of Viegas.
What was that? What was
That was to train a bunch of other Marines.
You were still in training people.
Training people then, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And did your wife get to go to Puerto Rico with you?
No,
No.
she stayed. Well, I was gonna be gone for 30 days, so she came home, went back to work.
Ah,
She worked at Lincoln Life, and she went back to work. And then when I got back from there, it was, August or September or something like that. She was down there with me for a while until we got sent to Vegas. And then we got rid of our apartment when she went back, and so I just went home on weekends or something when I could.
yeah. Do you remember what you were doing and where you were when I'm not sure what to call it, the ceasefire was declared?
Yeah, but I don't remember where I was. I remember it real well, because by the time I'd been there, you know, it was pretty, something fresh in your mind.
Were you in Korea when it was declared?
I'm not sure.
Okay, but you knew it was in the works at that time.
Well, yeah, it was in the works before I left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. After you got back and you were discharged, what did you do?
Well, I went back to work, or I went to work at the International Harvester.
International Harvester. Is that where you worked before?
No. I worked before with a guy by the name of Don Herzl of Schrader's Automotive here in town.
Okay.
And then when I came back, I first went to work with my dad for a while till I got a job at the Harvester, and I was there 27 years.
And were you doing mechanical work at the Harvester?
No, I was a tool maker.
A tool maker?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was impression dies is what it was.
Okay.
Ford shop.
Did your experiences in the military during the Korean War, did that help you in your occupation afterwards?
Oh, I don't. It was a totally different thing, you know.
Well, what is it? Was there?
We're building big trucks at International Harvester.
That's true too. Yeah. What do you see as something beneficial then that you got from your experience in the military?
Oh, I guess the pride I have today about our country, because I got an outfit here that we stand guard at veterans' funerals, at the funerals, and then graveside, and fold the flag. And
how long have you been doing that?
About 4 years right now.
Okay.
And also we have I stay with friends with a lot of Marines, because we had started about 4 years ago, started a Leatherneck Coffee Club here in town. And we take care of Toys or Tots now. And that's how I keep in touch with a lot of. We have a lunch or breakfast once a month.
Did you take advantage of any of the veterans benefits when you got back?
I joined the Veterans Hospital medical thing over at Fort Wayne. I still belong there.
Okay.
I get my drugs and see a doctor over there.
How about any of the educational benefits, or?
No.
No. I believe if I remember correctly, maybe home loans, things like that. You never had to take advantage of any of that stuff? Okay. Do you belong to like the American Legion or the VFW?
American Legion.
American Legion. Are you involved with them now?
Not very much, no.
Were you?
Not really. Only when, you know, I'm involved more now with funerals and things with our Korean War veterans.
No, that's not part of the American Legion.
No,
isn't it? It's totally separate
different.
Totally thing.
There's only, see, we started the Korean War veterans when we built the memorial for this Courthouse Square 5 or 6 years ago. And after that was bought and paid for and installed, we kind of disbanded, but 6 of us stayed together to help out the nursing home or the funeral homes at funerals. We'd place a flag on the casket. We stood beside the casket.
Do you do that just for Korean War veterans?
Mostly, but we do it anybody that wants us.
Okay.
We've done it for several World War II veterans and a couple of Vietnam, but it's not something that the public really knows yet. And we only work with the Demonis and the Smiths here in town, and we did down South Whitley once and at Busco once, and we're getting more business. We don't get paid for anything, you know, but it's an honor to do it.
It's wonderful.
We got to go to Demonis this morning.
We won't keep you. Before we enter the interview, is there something I haven't asked you about that you'd like everybody to know, or
No, I can't.
have I forgotten something?
If you did, I have too.
Well, Mr. Schrader, then we really appreciate you coming in and doing this. I learned a lot from this morning. Some things
good.
you've said, some things I had never known, and thanks.
You're welcome.